Hey everyone, have you ever tried to describe someone you just met, or maybe a character in a movie, and suddenly your mouth just stops working?
Oh my gosh, yes, you know exactly what I mean. You have the picture in your head. Maybe they have dark wavy hair and they're really outgoing, but the English words just disappear.
Exactly. And then you spend 5 seconds trying to remember, is it wavy dark hair or dark wavy hair? And boom, the conversation is gone.
That pause, that awkward grammatical pause.
Welcome back to the English Blend. I'm Mia.
And I'm Leo.
Today, we are diving into a huge topic that combines vocabulary practice with overcoming that speaking anxiety. Our episode is titled, Describing People's Appearance and Personality.
But we aren't just giving you a list of adjectives. We are talking about how to describe people fluently, even if you make a few mistakes along the way. That's the key, right?
Absolutely. We want you to be able to talk about the person you saw at the cafe, the one with the interesting glasses, without feeling paralyzed by grammar rules.
Exactly. So grab your coffee and let's get started.
Okay, Leo, let's start with the big definitions. What do we mean when we talk about fluency?
Fluency in simple terms means flowing. It means you can keep talking, even if you need to pause briefly to breathe or think. The communication keeps moving forward.
Right. The listener understands your point, even if the phrasing isn't 100% perfect. It's about communication.
And then we have accuracy. Accuracy is focusing on perfect grammar, perfect pronunciation, and perfect word choice.
And most English learners, especially A2, B1, and B2 learners, often prioritize accuracy too much.
It's natural. We are taught rules, rules, rules. You want to make sure your adjective order is correct. Size, color, material, you know.
I know, when you're describing someone, you might be thinking, did I say tall, slim man or slim, tall man? And that internal debate immediately stops your flow.
It's the difference between trying to give someone directions and worrying about the font on the map. They still get to the destination.
That's a great analogy. If I'm describing someone and I say, she got short hair and blue big eyes, the person I'm talking to will definitely understand who I mean.
They get your point across. Language focus 1. You've communicated the essential information.
Now, if I spend 5 seconds thinking, oh no, did I use big blue eyes or blue big eyes? Adjective order is size before color. By the time I speak, the opportunity to say it naturally is gone.
That silence is what we call the grammar block. It's when the internal editor takes over your brain.
And our goal today is to push that internal editor aside, especially when talking about something descriptive, like appearance or personality.
Let's look at a common example of appearance. Say you want to describe a person's build. Maybe they are athletic.
You could say they are well-built or muscular. If you struggle to remember the exact word, you might just say, he looks very strong. He goes to the gym a lot.
Perfect. You used simple vocabulary to achieve the same communicative goal. That is fluency in action.
Another common one is hair. There are so many textures: straight, wavy, curly, and colors: auburn, platinum blonde, salt and pepper.
Don't get stuck. If you see someone with gray and black hair mixed together and you can't remember salt and pepper, just say, his hair is a bit gray and black, mixed.
Exactly. Use what you have in your vocabulary toolbox, even if it's simpler. The moment you feel yourself starting to pause because you can't remember the B2 word, switch to the A2 phrase.
This is especially true for personality descriptions, which are often subjective and require more abstract language.
If someone is always happy and laughs easily, you want to say they are jovial or ebullient. But if those words don't come instantly, just say, she's always smiling. She seems very happy and friendly.
The listener doesn't care if you use the perfect dictionary definition. They care if they can picture the person.
Let's practice this concept with a specific appearance detail: clothes. Say someone is wearing a very formal jacket and casual pants.
You might want to use the precise word smart casual, but if you pause, you lose the moment.
Instead, just say, his clothes are a little strange. The top part is professional, but the bottom part is like pajamas.
That works, and it's funny. Light humor and clear communication achieved. That's fluency, not perfection.
Let's dive deeper into why grammar blocks fluency when describing people.
So Mia, we talked about the internal editor. Why is it so active when we try to describe things?
Because descriptions often involve complex sentence structures and a lot of adjectives. Adjectives, especially in English, require a specific order, as we mentioned: opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose.
That's like 8 things to remember. If I'm describing an attractive, medium-sized, young, round, green, Italian leather writing bag, I have to pause after every word to check my rules.
And when you pause, you hit a wall.
Your momentum stops. The listener waits, and you start to feel anxious. The solution isn't to perfectly memorize the adjective order, though that's great for writing, but to use chunks when speaking.
Absolutely. A chunk is a group of words that naturally go together, almost like one unit. When you learn them as a unit, you don't stop to build the grammar inside the unit.
Think about common appearance chunks. Instead of learning dark, wavy, and hair separately, learn the chunk long, dark, wavy hair.
Or for personality, instead of learning very, hard, and working, learn the chunk a dedicated, hardworking professional.
When you see someone who matches that description, you just deploy the chunk. You don't stop to think, is dedicated an opinion or a descriptive adjective?
Let's apply this to describing height and build. Instead of thinking about the rules for medium and average, learn medium build, average height, a bit overweight.
And remember the purpose of the conversation. You usually describe someone because they are either relevant to the conversation or stand out.
For example, the new team leader is a sharp dresser. That's a chunk meaning someone who wears fashionable clothes well. You don't need to break down the grammar of sharp dresser, you just use it.
Let's discuss some personality vocabulary and how to chunk it. If someone is the kind of person who organizes everything and pays attention to details, we call them meticulous.
A great word. But if it's too big for your speaking level right now, use the chunk very detail-oriented. It means the same thing and flows easily.
Or if someone is quite introverted and quiet, instead of looking for the perfect synonym for shy, try keeps to themselves. That's a lovely, natural chunk.
Or if they are easily irritated, instead of irascible, try has a short fuse. That's a useful idiom.
Speaking of personality, we often describe people based on their energy. Someone who is always moving, always happy, always speaking loudly.
They are full of beans, another idiom. Or you can use the chunk a real go-getter.
If you learn these descriptions as ready-made phrases, they come out without triggering the internal grammar editor. This is how native speakers talk. We don't assemble sentences perfectly every time. We retrieve ready-made parts.
Exactly. Fluency is high-speed retrieval, not high-speed construction.
Let's pause for a moment and look at a short story related to the consequences of prioritizing accuracy too much. I remember a learner, let's call her Anna, who was trying to describe a taxi driver she needed to report. The driver had left her phone in the back seat.
A stressful situation where fluency is absolutely necessary.
Yes, she called the taxi company and started describing the driver. She knew the exact words for his appearance, balding, stocky, a slight limp.
Great vocabulary.
But she kept pausing. She'd say, the driver was, he had a head with not much hair. What is the rule for adjectives before the noun?
Oh no.
The person on the phone kept having to ask her to repeat herself. She was so focused on whether to say a man stocky build or a stocky built man that she couldn't give the crucial information, his car number and the time.
So she was accurate about the appearance, but failed to get her point across because her fluency suffered under pressure.
Correct. It took her 5 minutes just to establish that the man was a bit heavyset and wore glasses. The company eventually found the driver, but the lesson was clear. If you communicate the key details, even imperfectly, it's better than perfectly pausing.
And that links to a cultural note. In many English-speaking cultures, especially in fast-paced environments like a cafe or a work meeting, speed and flow are valued more than grammatical perfection.
If you stop too long, the listener might think you finished speaking, or they might interrupt because they feel the flow has stopped. Think about when you're ordering coffee and you need to quickly describe the person waiting in line for you. Oh, that's my friend, the one with the bright green jacket and the messy ponytail.
You need speed. You don't need to worry if you use the precise word for messy, or if you should have said brightly colored green jacket.
And sometimes focusing too much on accuracy makes the language sound unnatural or academic. We want the English blend style, natural and friendly.
So, the takeaway from this section is use chunks, prioritize the most important information, the identifying feature, and accept that it's not the end of the world if you switch the adjective order sometimes.
Okay, let's move into actionable steps. These are things you can do every day to train your brain to retrieve descriptive words faster.
These are the practical tips we promised. We need 3 to 5 real steps, prompt requirement.
Practical tip 1, the daily description challenge. Every single day, choose 3 people you see regularly, a coworker, a barista, or even a character on a TV show, and describe them out loud, even if you are alone.
Use the timer. Give yourself 30 seconds per person. This introduces the 3-second rule mentality, prompt requirement. If you pause for more than 3 seconds, you must move on to the next descriptive word, even if it's simpler.
If you hesitate trying to remember striped, just say lines. If you forget sarcastic, just say not very nice, maybe a little mean. The goal here is to train the brain to keep going rather than stop and fix. Fluency practice must be continuous.
And don't just describe what they look like today. Describe their general personality. She is generally very even-tempered, calm, but today she seems a little moody.
If we know that fluency relies on chunks, we need to collect them. This means massive listening. Listen to native speakers describing people in movies, podcasts, or reality shows, and specifically write down how they describe them. Don't just write down single words like handsome or funny. Write down the whole chunk, a ruggedly handsome face, or a quick-witted sense of humor.
Then use shadowing. Listen to the chunk and repeat it immediately with the same tone and speed. This helps the words feel natural in your mouth.
For example, if you hear someone say, "She has a lovely complexion," repeat that phrase 10 times. That means their skin is clear and healthy.
If you hear, "He's highly motivated," repeat that. When you need to describe someone focused on work, that phrase will be easily retrieved.
Shadowing turns abstract vocabulary into muscle memory.
When you find yourself hitting a wall during a description, don't try to find a better synonym. Try to simplify the concept using a known contrast.
For appearance, if you can't remember the word curly, contrast it with straight. Her hair is not straight, it is more, round. The listener understands you mean curly or wavy.
For personality, if someone is behaving strangely and you can't remember eccentric, contrast it with normal or predictable. He's not predictable at all. He does very unusual things.
This technique forces you to use the vocabulary you do know, rather than pausing to chase the vocabulary you don't know. It keeps the communication flowing.
And remember, it's not the end of the world if your description is basic, as long as the listener knows who you mean.
When describing someone, especially quickly, prioritize the 2 or 3 most distinguishing features. That is the core of getting your point across.
Maybe they have extremely striking eyes, very noticeable, or they always wear a distinctive piece of jewelry.
Focus on the features that cannot be changed easily. For appearance, height, hair color or style, or maybe a unique mark like a scar or tattoo.
For personality, focus on the dominant trait. Are they primarily reserved or outgoing? Are they serious or playful?
If you try to give 15 adjectives, you risk overloading your listener and your own brain. Stick to 3 strong points.
For example, the new manager is a tall, serious man who always wears well-fitted suits. 3 points. Tall, appearance. Serious, personality. Well-fitted suits, clothing or style. Done.
That gives a clear picture without causing a grammar meltdown.
We have already introduced a few great phrases, but let's look closely at these 3 crucial communication phrases that relate to achieving fluency and managing stress.
Phrase number 1, get your point across.
This means successfully communicating your main message. It's about the result of the communication, not the method.
If you are describing the person who stole your lunch, you need to get your point across, that they have blue shoes and messy blonde hair, even if you say, he has shoes blue.
The goal is transmission, not eloquence. If your communication partner understands you, you got your point across.
Phrase number 2, hit a wall.
This phrase describes that feeling when you are progressing well, and then suddenly you stop completely. You run into a difficult obstacle.
When you are describing someone's complicated personality and you pause for 10 seconds because you can't think of the word ambivalent, you have hit a wall.
It often happens when trying to transition from basic vocabulary, A2, to more complex vocabulary, B2. Don't panic when you hit a wall. Switch back to simpler language.
Phrase number 3, not the end of the world.
This is a calming, reassuring phrase. It means the mistake you made is minor and doesn't have serious consequences.
If you confuse slim and skinny when describing someone, it's not the end of the world. They might be slightly different in meaning, but the listener understands the general idea.
If you say a lovely small cat instead of a small lovely cat, it's not the end of the world. The meaning is clear. Use this phrase internally when you feel that grammar panic rising.
Let's add 2 more useful idioms related to appearance and personality that are great chunks to practice.
How about to be rough around the edges?
Oh, I love that one. It's perfect for describing personality. It means someone might be slightly impolite, unpolished, or not perfect in social situations, but they are often good people underneath.
For example, the character in the movie is a bit rough around the edges, but he has a heart of gold. It's a great descriptive chunk that replaces many simple adjectives.
And another one, to be dressed to the nines.
That's a fantastic description of appearance. It means someone is wearing very fashionable or very formal clothes. They are perfectly dressed.
If you see someone at a wedding looking amazing, you can just say, wow, she is dressed to the nines today. You avoid having to list all the perfect clothing items.
Wow, Leo, that was a comprehensive look at how fluency affects our ability to describe the people around us.
Absolutely. We covered a lot of ground, but the central idea remains the same. Fluency equals communication, not perfection.
We learned that constantly striving for 100% accuracy leads to the grammar block, especially when describing things that require many adjectives, like appearance.
And to fight the grammar block, we need to use chunks, ready-made phrases like a striking gaze or highly motivated, instead of building sentences from scratch every time.
Remember our practical tips. Use the daily description challenge with the 3-second rule, engage in massive listening and shadowing chunks, and don't be afraid to simplify and use contrasts when you hit a wall.
And use those power phrases. Focus on how to get your point across. Remember that your mistakes are not the end of the world, and use idioms like dress to the nines to sound natural.
The next time you are trying to describe the friendly cashier with the unique hairstyle, just speak. Don't let your internal editor pause you.
Daily practice is key. Choose one person today and try to describe them fluently for 30 seconds. Don't worry about grammar, worry about flow.
Thank you so much for joining us on the English Blend today. We hope this helps you move from accurate silence to fluent communication.
Yes, thank you. Join us next week when we talk about mastering small talk in professional settings.
That was a great talk.
Yes, see you in the next episode of The English Blend.